You don't want your snack then? You need it. The vet says you have gingivitis.
Who doesn't have gingivitis?
The biggest mood is we all have gingivitis.
We are all gingivitis.
Oh. Do you know Tommy the Tooth? Have I talked to you about this before?
Yes! Isn't he the weird puppet thing?
The weird...
That was the preview in front of the Land Before
Timmy.
Timmy the Tooth.
It's Timmy the Tooth.
I don't think we've talked about it, but I know exactly what
you know exactly what I'm talking about?
Because I saw the previews in front of every Land Before Time movie.
Yeah, puppet tooth guy.
There was a toothbrush with really intense eyebrows.
Yes.
There was like a girl tooth or something, and there was like an evil cavity guy, and there was like a rainbow.
Look, the big mouth gulch. Okay, do you remember this dog? It was like it was one of those things that was like, it was a toy and they made like a show on it, and it was like this dog. I cannot for the life of me remember. Oh my god. But my cousin had the dog. And so we would watch the video because it came with the toy.
Is this the one where the dog would interact with the video?
I don't know, but he was like had like black and white patches.
Because my first mistake told me his favorite
his name was
toy.
Like Toby or something.
Yeah. My first mistake told me one of his favorite toys was a dog that came with a video, and the dog would react to certain like vocal cues or whatever that happened in the video. So it was like
Toby Terrier. Yes, I remember the cover of this video. It was a star. Oh my god, yeah. My cousin had Toby the Terrier. Oh my god.
I never watched it, but I knew about it because of I was told about it. So and so.
Huh. Yeah. Anyway, I think about these things every now and then. I'm like, just like, what? Where'd you? Oh, there you are. He's under the desk.
This dog is cursed.
He looks a little creepy, right? Like,
yeah,
even the video. I kind of want to watch this YouTube video.
Oh,
Let's just do a whole YouTube thing. A whole thing on Toby the Terrier.
This is giving me too much furry vibes. I don't like it. It looks like a fursuit.
It's not a fursuit.
I know it's not a fursuit. Okay, fursuits end up looking like this. Like, there's this one screenshot I'm looking at, which is giving me very fursuit. I'm not about that.
Why many millennials are furries.
Yeah.
Look at 2 Disney movies and Toby the Terrier. Okay, let me look up my thing real quick.
Toby the Tooth or Timmy the Tooth is such a mood, though. I know exactly.
You knew exactly what I meant.
Because we just watched those Land Before Time movies so much. He was on just the Don Bluth movies. It was either before or after, because sometimes they would do previews at like the very end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was in front of the Don Bluth movies, because I think it was in front of American Tail too. Yeah, they would be like, "Here we go," and they were like in a car, and they're like singing, and oh my god, no. There's also the Catnaps trailer, which would show, because we had the Sailor Moon movies, which would play in front of the Sailor Moon movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like these kids get kidnapped by these cats and slowly kind of turn into like these weird cat human people. And there's like a song, and it was like na 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 like that, but it wasn't exactly that. But it was similar.
Addams Family. No, you cannot have. Oh my God.
Anyways, I watched it in college, and it was actually a pretty good movie. I think I would have liked it as a kid. And then they would play a Ranma Half trailer, too.
Okay, so I think I know which movie we're going to do.
I'm excited.
So are we ready to do this?
Yes.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let me drink some water real quick.
Okay. Oh, ew.
Refreshing lemonade.
I thought it was water.
I call lemonade water. Get out of my house.
Oh my god. No, it's so disgusting.
It's, you drink it. It is a liquid. It goes in your body.
Do you call milk water too?
'Tis water. No, milk is milk. Get
Okay,
outta
but
here.
you
What
drink
the-
it and it's a liquid and it goes into your body, Monze.
Yeah, but it's white.
Lemonade's yellow. What kind of water are you drinking?
It's pink lemonade, and in the cup, I can't tell what color it is. I'm
Well,
suddenly
it's not-
colorblind.
It's not
I do not
clear.
see it.
You're being so disrespectful right now. Do water.
Water can kiss my ass.
If you had a bidet, it would.
Ugh. You know, I was listening to a podcast a while ago that was talking about how Americans are so... I said Americans weird. Americans are really against, like, bidets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but apparently they're really good and they're really big, like, in Europe and Asia and stuff.
They're really sanitary. Those are the
And
toilets I
apparently,
always run to.
and apparently they're really sanitary, but I'm just like, I don't want water squirting back at me.
It's so nice. It's clean though. It's like
I know.
it's
It's not the fact that it's like. I know it's clean water, but you know, like when I don't know if it's cold or it's warm, whatever. I don't know, like the temperature of this water. But just the idea of like
choose it.
water that is possibly cold squirting up at you in your nether regions, you know.
Oh
like,
no, it's warm and it's like it just bubbles up and you're like, ooh.
And so that's what I'm scared of. That's what I'm literally afraid of.
You're scared it's gonna feel
like you know, like the clown with the flower and you get sprayed in the face, like that, but with my bottom.
You're scared it's like a water squirt gun, just like
every time, and it's like you do that every time. It's just like squirted up at you. No thanks. Hard pass. God bless America. French fries, more like freedom fries.
Oh my God. I feel like people associate it with like when you drop like a really heavy deuce and the water.
Oh, and then like it bumps up
in your booty. People are like, I don't like that, so I don't think I'll like this. But a bidet is so much different.
No, I'm sure it's like a
taking...
nice experience. I know people who haven't used it because that was the point of that podcast was that they were like, well, that episode. That they were trying to bring the bidet to the United States, and they would let people try the bidet, you know, and they'd be like, oh, that was such a nice experience. I was frightened for no reason. I'm just like, I will hold on to my fear. You cannot take this away from me.
All right. Netflix had bidets, and those are the toilets I always went straight for. I was like,
straight for.
I want the bidet because it had heated seats. And I was like, yes.
Okay, we're supposed to do an episode.
We are.
All right, guys, you're listening to the Bidet Hour with... You're listening to We Don't Watch Movies with me, Monze, and...
Me, Corinne.
Hi.
More like we don't use bidets.
we, all the way home. Alright, so I was trying to make that work. I was trying to riff and it just died. And George left me.
Uh-huh.
It's fine. I don't like him anyway.
That's the biggest lie I've ever heard.
I love him.
I know.
I love that stupid cat. He's got no brain cells. Sometimes
Orange boy cats have head empty. Head empty
for sure. It's like sometimes maybe he has one brain cell, but most of the time just zero brain cells.
Sometimes the brain cell comes at him and he's like, bats it away. No, I don't want that.
You know how cats are supposed to be like agile and good on their feet? I've seen this boy crash so many times. Who's calling me?
Ooh.
It's RIT.
Do they want your money?
Probably. I almost answered. It's a 585 Rochester really number. Funny. Hey, you're on the podcast. What? They've been calling me a lot now.
I don't get their number. I don't get their phone calls because I changed my number like 3 times.
Smart.
So
I've had the same phone number since I got my phone.
Well, they actually used to call
freshman year of high
house
school.
phone, and then my parents tried to give him my mobile phone, but it just didn't stick. And then I got a new mobile phone with a different number. So.
Is there somewhere, like, online I can change it? Anyway, this, again, is not part of the podcast. So
You have to answer and then change it and tell them, don't call me. Because I worked for those people
right,
that
you
would
did.
call. So you have to.
But it might have changed. It's been like 10 years.
Oh my god.
You're so old. Oh my god, you're so old.
Yeah.
Alright, so today's episode is one where I picked the movie. I thought it was vice versa, so I was on my drive home trying to crazy text Corinne. Like, we need to figure out the schedule. So yeah, so I decided to go for like an old film.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't choose between The Lady Eve, Ball of Fire, or It Happened One Night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's just do It Happened One Night because that was the movie that I watched that really got me into classic films.
Ooh.
And it won Best Picture in 1934.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered like the first screwball comedy.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about this movie. So have you ever heard of this movie, Crane?
I think I've heard of it, but I thought it was a horror thriller movie, so I clearly don't know a lot about
That
it.
might be a different movie.
It Happened One Night sounds like a scary movie title.
It happened one night.
Yeah. So I have zero idea what this is about. I didn't even know how old it was.
Yeah, it's an old movie. It's almost 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. So any ideas?
Okay.
Based off what I just told you. I'll give you some like little. So it stars Clark Gable and Claude Colbert.
Okay.
I'm assuming you know who Clark Gable is.
Yes. He was in Gone with the Wind.
Yes. Very good.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of movie, and clearly it's not. So maybe the one night it happens on is Christmas, and it's just a lot of shenanigans that happen on Christmas.
That's cute. That is very cute. Okay, no, you're wrong. Okay. But good try. E for efforts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's look for the trailer. Since I don't think you're gonna get a lot of
yeah.
Until you can watch the whole movie on
YouTube.
On YouTube.
Oh, it's that old.
Rude.
But it's the truth.
That is just rude.
Oh yeah.
How do you expect to get to New York at the rate you're going?
But that's none of your business.
You're on a budget from now on.
Now, just a minute.
Shut up.
You've got a name, haven't you?
Yeah, I got a name. Peter Warren.
Peter Warren. I don't like it.
Don't like it.
Let it bother you. You were giving it back to me in the morning.
Take me with you, Peter. Take me to your island. I want to do all those things you talked about.
You better go back to your bed.
What is happening?
What is happening in this movie? Don't you like a trailer that doesn't tell you exactly what's happening?
This is like a weird student film.
You. Don't make me laugh.
Oh, you're such a smart aleck.
Don't make me
Nobody knows anything
laugh.
but you. I'll stop a car and I won't use my thumb.
What are you going to do?
She's just gonna stand there.
No. She's gonna use her womanly wiles.
Oh yeah, that's
Of
what I
a hot
figured.
piece of leg.
That guy went from 70 to 0 in half a second.
Sometimes you gotta. Okay.
Stop on a dime. Okay. I
All right.
think now
what
that
do you
I
think
have
is happening? Now that
better
you have
idea.
a very little amount of context.
Yes, I think. Oh no, I accidentally clicked. Okay, there we go on the reacts. They're going to New York City. It's a long train ride. And then shit after shit after shit keeps happening. So the whole movie is them trying to go to New York City for different reasons. And they don't want to be stuck together, but they have to be stuck together. But then, by the end of the movie, they've fallen in love.
They've fallen in love with each other.
And now they want to be stuck together.
Okay.
There's something about an island. There's a lot of rain or snow. Maybe they are fake married, and at the end of the movie, they end up real married. Maybe they are strangers who were involved in some sort of crime, like in Some Like It Hot. And now they're like stuck together, except they're not friends. They just don't like each other, but then they end up liking each other towards the end. Yeah. I think she's like kind of like a con artist sort of person.
Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo.
And he's
That's
like
your con artist sound effect?
She's like no, that's like her vibe. She's like no, you know, kind of like a little more frivolous, less serious. And he likes to think he's like some serious, uptight, whatever, straight guy, but he's probably also a con man too. So maybe they're both con artists. And that they're going on a road trip together against their will, but then they fall in love. That's my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. You've got at least one thing correct.
Yay! They fall in love.
Oh, 2 things correct. They are going to New York. Okay, so the movie opens with like it's this old guy on a yacht, and he is like yelling at his butler. He's like, "What do you mean she's not eating?" He's like, "She refuses to eat." So basically, his daughter, Ellie Andrews, which is the main character, the lady character, excuse me, just got married to this like aviator guy named King Wesley.
Oh, she's married.
Yeah, so she gets married, and this is a guy like she just met.
His name is King Wesley.
Yeah, first name is King, last name Wesley.
Wow.
Yeah, hot stuff. How can you not marry a guy named King Wesley?
I was about to say,
if a guy named King Wesley walks,
King's a pretty good name. That's a good name.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't think I'd name my kid King, but that's a good name. That's a good character name. All right, continue.
Okay, yeah. So she has married him, and the dad is like, "How dare you marry this guy? You don't even know who he is, really. Like, you know, he's just after your money because she's rich heiress or whatever." Oh. She's like, "Father, I love him." So anyway, they get into this big fight, and she like jumps off the yacht and she swims to shore.
Wow.
And he's like, "What are you all doing? Get my daughter." Anyway, she makes it to land, and she doesn't get caught by her father or her father's men, and she buys like a bus ticket to get to New York. I don't know where they are right now. I'm assuming like Florida or something. To get to New York so she can meet up with her husband, King Wesley. Meanwhile, at this bus depot, Peter Warren, which is Clark Gable, is like kind of drunk, and he's over there like insulting his boss on the phone, and all the other drunks are like, "Ha ha ha, you sure showed him." But of course, like the boss had already hung up, but he's trying to get to New York because he's trying to get a job.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm like the best reporter you ever had or whatever, so he's trying to get there for like this job. And so like they're like on the same bus together. Right, so she's gonna sit next to him, and he's like, "Hey, you don't sit next to me, lady. I'm just trying to be here, drunk in the back of the bus." And she's like, "How many seats do these accommodate?" And the bus driver's like, 2, and she's like, "Ha ha ha." So anyway, she gets like her spot.
Okay.
And they're just like on the bus together, like whatever, and they like fall asleep, and she falls asleep on top of him, and he's like, "Hey, you're kind of cute when you're asleep," right? When she wakes up, and she's like, "Get away from me."
Yeah.
But they get to like this rest stop, and she's just like out there smoking, and her suitcase gets stolen, But she doesn't notice, right? And he's like, hey, and he like chases after the guy, and she's just like, why is he running like past me like a crazy guy? And he comes back, he's like, that guy just stole your suitcase. She's like, oh my god, what? He was like, seriously, lady? And so then he sees like a newspaper. Oh no, and then like they get to like the next day or whatever, and they're gonna, I think, switch buses. And they're like, okay, it's gonna be like an hour wait before the next one. And she's like, oh, just wait for me, I'm gonna be right back. Right? So she like sells some of her things to get money to buy clothes, but of course when she comes back, the bus is already gone because it's not gonna wait for her.
Yeah.
And she's like, why'd the bus leave? I told the bus driver to wait, right? And then it's the guy, and it's like, well, you should have known better. And she's like, oh, Peter, like, no, like the reporter guy, like, what are you, like, you missed the bus too. And he's like, did I really miss it? And so anyway, he has like the newspaper, and it's reported that she's like gone missing or whatever. And there's like a reward for her to be found. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, look, I'm going to get you, I'll help you get to New York if I have the exclusive right to tell your story, right? Because he wants to write this news article about her and her, like, trying to get to true love or whatever. And he says, and if you don't, I'll just call your father and turn you in right now. So she's like, okay, fine. I guess I have no choice. Right? But, like, she's super mad about it.
Yeah, I'd be mad about it, too.
And so, like, they get back on this bus. What the heck, George? So they get back on the bus, but she's like, I'm not gonna sit next to you. So she sits next to, like, this loud guy who's just like, hey, you're a hot mama. Hey, oh, I like him. Like, whatever. And she's just, like, super annoyed with him until, like, Peter Warren's like, beat it, Buster, that's my wife.
I said fake married. I said fake married.
Three things you got right. So they're on this bus. She's like, thanks for helping me out. He was like, I didn't do it for you. It's a long trip, and that guy's voice is annoying. And then they, like, it starts to, like, pour, like, starts raining really badly, so they have to stop at, like, a rest stop, and they have all these, like, cabins. And so Warren gets him and Ellie a cabin, but of course he again pretends that they're married, and she's like, what? I'm not gonna sleep in the same room as you. Like, he's like, don't worry, we're married. He's like, and anyways, I'll just do this. And he, like, hangs up a rope and puts, like, a blanket over it. He's like, and it's the walls of Jericho, and I don't have a trumpet, so I can't knock it down.
Wow.
And he, like, gives her his like, extra pair of pajamas. He's like, look, I'm so nice, and I'm giving you my extra pair of pajamas. And, this is one of the most, like, famous scenes. It's where she's just standing there, and he starts undressing, and he's like, all right, you can stay here and watch me undress if you want. And he, like, is like, here, I can even talk to you about how some men like to undress. He's like, I like to take off my hat, then I like to take off my shirt, and then that's where some people do things differently, but I like to take off my shoes first, or whatever, right? So he's just, like, doing all this stuff. He's like, and now I guess I gotta take off my pants, and she, like, runs to the other side of the wall of Jericho. So anyway, they, like, just sort of spend the night, and that's when she's like, I didn't even ask your name. He's like, it's Peter Warren, and she's like, it's a terrible name. He's like, well, you're not gonna keep it for very long. You'll give it back to me in the morning. So then the next day, they wake up, and she's like, oh, it's so nice out, or whatever. And she's like, oh, you took my dress to be clean. He's like, just hurry up and get dressed. Like, we need to go take a shower. So she, like, goes out, they're, like, communal showers out there, and she, like, starts getting along with all these women. Like, oh, look at me, I'm a rich person of the people now. And so she, like, comes back, and he gives her this lecture about, like, dunking. He does this a lot to her. So she, like, dunks her donut into her coffee, but she, like soaks it. And he's like, no, you're not supposed to soak it. You're supposed to just dip it and then eat, right? He's like, I'm an expert at this. I can write a book about it. But while they're in the hotel, like, some, like, investigators come by, and they're like, oh, we're looking for Ellie Andrews. She disappeared. And she's over there like, oh, I'm only the plumber's daughter. And he starts yelling at her and she's screaming and they're pretending like they're, a married couple. And they're like, oh no, it can't be this girl. He's like, you're looking for a plumber's daughter. And then the hotel manager is like, I told you, they were a nice, happily married couple. And then they're like, ha 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 ha, we got away with it. That's so cool. But of course they get back on the bus and the annoying guy recognizes Ellie. He's like, oh hey, that's definitely that rich lady. You must know about it too, huh? How about we go 50-50 on it to Peter? Mm-hmm. And he's like, huh, you think you know or whatever. So he the bus hits, gets stuck in some mud. Mm-hmm. And so then they step outside to talk, quote unquote, talk about it. And Peter pretends like he's in the mob, and he's like, if you tell anybody about this, and he gets super scared, he starts running, the scared guy, the annoying guy starts running away. And then he grabs Ellie and he's like, come on, let's go. But on the bus there was this lady that fainted. Oh. And Ellie gave them all of their money. And Peter's like, why'd you do that? So then they of course they run away from the bus. And they decide that they're gonna hitchhike. Mm-hmm. Right? But anyway, they're again, they come to a river, he's like, here, get on my back. And she's like, oh, it's been so long since I've had a piggyback ride. He's like, this isn't a piggyback ride. Like, what kind of a person gave you a piggyback ride like this? She's like, my dad. He was like, well, your dad doesn't know nothing about piggyback rides. I could write a whole book about piggyback rides.
Just let her enjoy things. Oh my god. You can't eat your donuts right.
It's okay. They're falling in love.
He's just negging her constantly.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, it's the 1930s. And so they spend the night in a hay, at a farm. Yeah. Right, around some hay. And he makes a little spot for her, and then he starts making a spot for himself, and she's talking, I don't know what about. And then he's not responding, so she gets scared. She's like, oh my god, he ditched me. But she was complaining that she was hungry. She's like, I'm hungry, whatever. So he ended up finding some carrots. So he was like, I've got some carrots because you said you were hungry. She's like, I'm too scared to eat now. He was like, great. So the next morning he's got these carrots and she's like, how can you eat that raw or whatever? So she refuses to eat them. And he was like, God. You just eat you said you were hungry. If you're that hungry, then you could have eaten these. Right? And so then they're like, well, why don't we, I don't rent a car or do something. He's like, well, we don't have money. We can't have a taxi. So they decide to hitchhike. And that's when Peter is like, all right, let me teach you how to hitchhike. He's like, so there's different ways to hitchhike. There's the casual, have your thumbs up, hey, buddy, and then there's the I'm a professional sort of stiff thumb. And then there's, lots of people make the mistake of waving because they look super desperate. And so he's using all these techniques and all of them are failing until he starts flailing around. And then Ellie's like, I'm gonna be able to get us to hitchhike. And that's when she gets to the side of the road and she lifts up her leg. Mm-hmm. And that guy goes 70 to 0 in 2 seconds that you saw in the trailer. So they're in the back seat of this thing, and the driver's like, oh, hitchhiking for a honeymoon, what a great way to spend a marriage. Like, what? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna stop, need to get some gas, you want anything to eat? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not, I'm hungry. And Peter's like, no, she's not hungry, we're fine. She's like, what do you mean? He was offering us food. He was like, we can't just fleece him for everything he's got. But they get out of the car and they're talking on a bench. And the guy comes out and he notices they're not in the car and he drives off with all their luggage.
Oh my god.
And Peter's like, oh my god, he's a thief. So he chases after him. I don't know how he catches up to him. I think he runs after him. And he
Cars weren't
ends
very
up
fast back then.
That's true, they didn't go very fast. But yeah, he catches up to the car, and he beats him up, and he takes the car, he steals the car from him, and they, get their stuff. And he picks her back up, and they just start driving, Mm-hmm. And he's got, a bloody temple, and she's like, oh my god, you hurt yourself, and she's, trying to patch him up, and then she's in there eating the carrot, because it's what else is she gonna eat? And then the dad is like, my daughter still isn't coming home. I can't find her. He's like, I'm going to give permission to King Wesley. Yes, he can marry my daughter, right? Mm-hmm. So then it comes out in, like, the newspaper. Right. He's like, I'll put out, like, a thing in the newspaper, like, just come home, Ellie, you can marry your man, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they're almost in New York, but Ellie's like, oh, why don't we just stay somewhere for the night? He's like, I don't. Why? She's like, no, don't worry about it. She's like, so whatever. He's like, we don't have any money. Like, what are we gonna? So anyway, he lies to, like, a hotel owner that they can stay a week, and they, like, spend another, like, night in a hotel again with the blanket partition. Yeah. And they just start talking, and. Because he's talking about, like, love triumphant, because that's, like, the words he uses about King Wesley and her. Uh-huh. She's like, don't you ever want love? He's like, yeah, sure, I guess I want love. Someone who will come with me on my little island or whatever, and we can just be unto ourselves or whatever. And that's when she's like, I want to go with you to your island. I love you. And he's like, you can't do this. You're married to King Wesley or whatever. So anyway, she basically cries herself to sleep. And he's, like, thinking about it. He's like, hey, you really mean it? You'll come with me? And she, of course, she's, like, knocked out. So he, like, gets up in the middle of the night and he drives to New York because, like I said, they were pretty close. Mm-hmm. And he goes to, like, the newspaper office where he was with the guy he was calling in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I've got a story for you. Ellie Andrews has fallen in love with the newspaper guy, right? She went on this whole trip or whatever. And so he, like, gets paid, and he's like, I'm going to sell my story about love and my potential marriage to her, right? But the hotel owner checks up on them in the middle of the night, and he's like, look, I told you they weren't good for the money. You took the thing. Mira, ahí está. Dámelo. George. Ay, George, ¿por qué estás así?
Kitty,
Brief intermission. What was I saying? The hotel guy, they come to check on him, and they're like, look, he ditched her. He clearly wasn't going to pay, so they, like, kick her out. So she's like, he totally ditched me. So she, of course, calls her dad. Mm-hmm. And so is the guy, as Peter is driving back, he's, like, super happy. He's, like, singing a song. He's like, whatever. And, like, all these police cars rush past him. He's, like, waving to them, like, yeah, whatever, right? And on the way back, they come back, and he's like, that's kind of weird. And then he looks in one of the cars, and he sees Ellie Andrews. He's like, oh, my God. She totally ditched me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so then he thinks, of course, that she has, like, turned herself in and that, like, right, like, she didn't actually mean it or whatever. Mm-hmm. So then Peter is like, well, I'm due a reward, right? Because I did deliver her most of the way. So he, like, calls about the reward. But meanwhile, Ellie's going to remarry King Wesley, right? They're going to do, like, an actual, like, big, nice wedding and not just, like, a super secret whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, the day of the ceremony or whatever. And the dad's like, that guy you were with, he's like, you don't look that happy. And she's like, oh, I'm in love with someone. He's like, who are you in love with? It's not King Wesley. She's like, no, it's this newspaper guy I met and traveled with. And he thinks everything about my richness is stupid, but I still love him.
He hates everything about me, but I love him. He hates
everything about me, but I love him.
I don't think he likes me at all, but I love him.
But Father, I love him. And and the dad is like, oh, that sounds like a great guy. Literally. He's like, well, Peter's gonna come by today, if you want me to talk to him, maybe I can convince him, to stay. And she's like, no, he's not that kind of a guy. So he shows up to, like, the pre-wedding party, because apparently that's a thing that happens. Mm-hmm. And they see each other, and they're like, anyway. So he goes in, and he's like, all right, here's the reward money. Like, I don't know how much it is, like $10,000 or, no, $1,000 or something. And Peter's like, well, I don't want this. I just want the money I'm owed, which is $39.60, which is what I spent to travel her, like, travel with her on like the luggage I lost and all this stuff. I'm not. Oh, it is $10,000, not the whole $10,000. And the dad is like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "That's pretty cheap." He's like, "No, look, I just was in it for the story. It's whatever." He's like, "Well, my daughter says she loves you." He's like, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "Do you love my daughter?" And he's like, "Anybody who would love your daughter has got to be crazy." And he's like, "I know, but do you love her?" He's like, "Yes, I do. I guess I'm crazy, basically." He's like, "Yes, but don't hold that against me." But yeah, so then he like slams the door, and they like look at each other. And she's like, "I guess you got your money." He's like, "Yeah, I guess have a happy marriage." So he like leaves, and the dad is like, he didn't take all the money as he's walking her down the aisle. He's a good guy, I can buy off King Wesley to annul this marriage, like no big problem. But if you love Peter, then you should be with Peter. So she like gets to the altar. And they're like, "Do you take?" And she's like, and she just dips. She runs. She just bolts. And everyone at the wedding is like, "What is going?" And she just like bolts and she jumps into like a taxi. The dad is like, "I'll have a taxi ready for you." She like jumps into the taxi and she leaves. And then the last scene is that they're at this other like hotel room, and they have like the wall of Jericho up. Mm-hmm. And the hotel owner's like, yeah, the hotel owner's like, "He asked me for a toy trumpet. It was super weird." And you just hear the, and then like the blanket fall, and that's the end of the movie.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hello. You're just lying there.
I want to be respectful because this movie clearly inspired you or ignited a love for old films.
Look, a lot of these old movies don't really have good plots. A lot of them are problematic. I'm not like, but when you're watching it, you just sort of get into it. Like, you just get immersed, and it's like, okay. Like, you can forgive a lot of stuff, and then like, oh my god, you scared me. Clark Gable was so charming.
Yeah.
You left. Why are you over here harassing me?
I imagine he's able to get away with a lot because the actor just has so much charisma and is very handsome.
Yes.
And that the whole movie kind of depends on the charisma and likability of the guy. Mm-hmm. But hearing it spelled out, I don't know. I don't know if I really like it.
You can watch it. Don't watch the whole movie on YouTube for free.
I feel like I would just get frustrated watching it. Like, if I didn't get pulled in by the charm of Clark Gable, I think I would be very frustrated with the viewing experience. Mm-hmm. It seems like a movie where I have to really, really, really like the acting. Otherwise, I'm going to have a really hard time and just get angry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, breaking it down, it's like, this is kind of problematic. But it's just like really funny. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It's clearly got a lot of those rom-com tropes, and since it was such
because early... it's like really one of the first.
I was gonna say it seems like a
screwball comedies
for that kind of stuff.
Like the guy who doesn't like her but falls in love, and like the girl who's like kind of ditzy. I mean, she's kind of ditzy because she's like rich, so she's not used to like poor people living.
Yeah. She's naive, and he's teaching her the ways of the world. And...
yeah. But in a way, she's also teaching him the ways of the world.
Oh, they're teaching each other.
They're falling in love.
It's interesting because, like, I could see that movie being made in some way today. With, like, the exact same plot, exact same dynamics, much.
It probably has.
That's what I mean. So I'm curious, like, clearly the movie and the dynamics of all that stuff are indicative and reflective of culture at the time and what was acceptable, yada yada. But I think it's because it was a very early rom-com, I'm curious, rom-coms that came after, are those dynamics also, because I see those dynamics even today, constantly, right? The guy just, like, they don't seem to actually like each other, but they're together anyways. And I imagine with this movie, the two leads have so much charisma that somehow it works. But I'm curious if subsequent rom-coms, especially modern ones, if they're actually indicative of what's like, what do you call it? What's accepted in terms of relationship dynamics, or if they are just copying what this movie kind of laid down as blueprint of like, no, this is the dynamic. This is what is going to make a compelling dynamic. And because they keep copying it over and over, it just creates this negative feedback loop of what we expect out of relationships. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say everyone who's ever written a rom-com has seen this movie. I definitely think that people are influenced by other movies that were influenced by this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so...
But let's say you're influenced by a movie that was influenced by this movie. But, like, the dynamic is still the same. You know what I mean? It's just the situation's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about how much... Yeah, it's just more of, like, a hypothetical kind of, like, thought question. Like, how much is actually influenced by society? How much is someone just putting it in and influences society and back and forth and yada yada? Like, why is that dynamic so prevailing in media and in how we see things today? I think the answer ultimately is patriarchy, but still, it's interesting seeing such an early rom-com and how modern it still seems.
Yeah, I think it's definitely still in the... Like, there are things about it that are, like, still sort of relevant in that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like... I mean, some things do feel dated, right? Like, just in general, but I think it holds up pretty well. Besides, like, terrible, like, macho man stuff.
Well, even that problematic stuff still feels modern because we see that, you know? Like,
right?
the problematic stuff has
or whatever,
still...
like, it's all just like,
exactly.
I know better than you, because...
It has still endured, so that's why I'm like, has it endured because men are just, like, society hasn't changed in, like, almost 100 years? Or has it endured because we keep seeing these stories over and over and it keeps reinforcing this behavior? Or is it a mix of both? Which it's probably a mix of both.
It's probably a mix of both. I have some fun facts.
Ooh,
if you'd like some fun facts about the movie. Okay, so I mentioned the dressing scene.
Yes.
Specifically because Clark Gable didn't wear an undershirt during that scene.
Oh.
And immediately the sale of undershirts dropped.
Oh my goodness. That is so funny.
Because, you know, he was such like a symbol that it was like, oh my god, he doesn't wear an undershirt. I can't wear an undershirt. So then I think the next movie, like, he sort of had where he had to take off his shirt, he wore an undershirt so they can get undershirt sales back up again.
That is so funny.
Isn't that funny?
That's hilarious. Oh my god, the monkey brains of the collective audience. Just like, oh no.
I mean, they claim it's an urban legend, but I like to think that it's true.
I 100% believe it.
I 100% believe it. Yeah. Another one is that, like, they're on a bus the whole time, like Greyhound. Mm-hmm. And around this time, that really sort of spurred the movement for, like, bus travel, like, nationwide. Because it was cheap and it was easy. And, like, if you wanted to go someplace, it was super easy to just get on a Greyhound bus and, like, travel and visit someplace new, right?
I was wondering about that, yeah, because that's pretty early in automobile transportation in general, so...
Yeah, and then, apparently, the animator Fritz Freleng mentioned that, he was inspired by this movie. You know how he keeps eating he keeps eating the carrot in the movie.
So then Bugs Bunny.
And then the annoying guy, Oscar Shabley, keeps calling him Doc.
Oh, so it's like there's reference. Okay, I had heard it was a reference, but now I know where that reference is from.
And then they casually mention a character named Bugs Dooley to scare Shabley. And, like, so it's sort of like this influence of, like, the Doc, hey Doc, and the bugs and the carrot and the whole thing.
That's really funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's like a meme that got put into a, because I knew that the whole Bugs Bunny thing, some of those mannerisms were at the time modern cultural references. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole point of the cartoons, was they're
Yeah.
all pop culture references. But to us now, we're so far removed from it. We're like, well, no, Bugs Bunny is just like this. But it's like, no, he was like a vehicle to wink, wink, nod, nod because this movie was clearly so popular, which means it was like a meme in a way back then because it's everyone back then who was watching it knew exactly what it was referencing. That's funny. That's cute.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I have one last fun trivia fact.
Mm-hmm.
So it happened when it's the first to win the Big Five Academy
Oh,
Awards. So Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and Writing.
wow.
Yep.
Very popular movie.
Yes, and Clark Gable and Claudia Colbert didn't even want to make the movie, and they weren't even the first choice for the movie, and they hated each other during the filming of the movie. So.
Maybe the hate was not actually part of the character, but just Clark Gable passive aggressively.
Clark Gable and Claudia Colbert passive
Yeah.
aggressively hating each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fun. Clearly culturally significant. Um, cool. I mean, I can appreciate the movie. I just don't know if I'd like it, but I also can't say for sure because I haven't seen it. So, yeah. What would you rate the movie?
5 out of 5.
Oh, wow.
I love this movie. I think it's so much fun. I think it's so cute. When he's like, I know, like, in the, like, you were just like, whatever, but when he is like, yes, I love her, but don't hold it against me, I'm always like, yeah, just like, damn, I'm a hoe for rom-coms.
Oh my god.
Just losing it.
I think I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that 5 out of 5 after you watch it.
If I watch it.
I can't wait to see that 5 out of 5 after you watch it.
All right then.
You know those memes where it's like me making my friend watch a movie I love, and that's gonna be me. Yeah.
Well, is that like a Twitter one going around right now where it's like, girls, do you like this movie? Just exudes comfort vibes, and it's like a horror movie. That's you, except it's this movie, and people might actually agree.
It's a good movie. It's a real good movie.
Okay.
Explaining it, it's not a good movie. But watching it, what an experience.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see if I ever get around to watching it.
I can't believe I'm gonna make you watch this movie.
Oh my god.
When I see you next time, like in real life person,
Oh no.
I'm gonna be like, guess what I brought? I brought your copy of It Happened When I on DVD because I have 2 copies. Here you go, just for you. I bought it.
Thank you so much.
I know, let's watch it right now.
Oh my
Perfect.
God.
Yay.
I'm suddenly so tired.
No, I will tape your eyes open.
All right. Cool. If you've seen this movie and you like it, let us know.
And if you love it.
Maybe I'll be peer pressured into watching this movie.
Oh, you're definitely 100% going to get peer pressure into watching this movie.
Oh my god.
Along with Timmy the Tooth.
I would almost rather watch Timmy the Tooth.
And Toby the dog, the terrier.
I don't want to watch Toby the Terrier.
And I'm going to buy you a Toby the Terrier toy dog.
Oh,
so we can get the full experience.
I don't think you can buy those anymore. I think they're expensive. Because it's like a collector's item.
Girl just got her stimulus. like those scenes from the like those bad like 90s scenes when people are on the internet hacking and you see like the things and then yeah. The screen flashing in front, yeah.
Oh my god.
But that's me bidding on Toby the Terry.
Got 20 minutes left on this bid. It's at $13.50. Don't go any higher. I have to pay for shipping.
That's where they get you.
Oh my god.
All right, guys.
Okay.
If you've seen this movie and you love it, let us know.
Ooh.
What was that?
It was the fire engine.
Rate, comment, review, subscribe, tell your friends. Corinne, where can they find you?
Oh no, I was about to do that. I know! Put the script on me. You can find me at Karina's Korean on Twitter. But Monze, where can they find us?
They can find us at Don't Watch Movies on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitter at Magic Monster.
Titter.
I said Twitter.
Oh, I heard titter.
I'm on the titter. I live that titter life.
Oh my god. Okay.
Tit bitch.
Tittering away.
Yeah, anyway, this is the end of the episode.
Alright, thanks for listening. Bye.